welcome to Hey It's Donna. If you're new, my name is Donna. If you're not, welcome back. I want to take this moment and celebrate the 670 subscribers on my channel. I appreciate you guys and thank you for subscribing and joining the fam. I know I've been MIA for the last 3 weeks with no video updates, but if you follow me on Instagram, you would have known that I've been out sick with a cold/viral infection for the last 3 weeks, which was horrible. I was out. I was so congested. I lost my voice. I'm feeling better today. I know we did a video about preparing for Japan, going through the airports, the travel restrictions, and what kind of applications that I recommend before going. If you haven't seen that video yet, I would definitely watch it. It's right here. I wanted to ease back into things and do a quick 20 tips that I wish I had known before going to Japan for my first time. As always, feel free to comment down below to share some of your experiences and tips when visiting Japan. And thank you for those who shared their experiences in the comment section in my last video, because I know those of us that are flying out in a few weeks appreciate all the tips we can get. Now let's get into it. At my number 1, no trash bins in public places. I've been told this before my first trip to Japan. I didn't know to what extent that meant, like maybe you would see some here or there, but no, there's no trash bins in public places unless you are in an area that serves food and beverage. In Japan, waste that is produced outside is meant to be brought home and sorted out with your household trash. And if you booked an Airbnb, there will be some sort of information posted somewhere on how to sort out your trash and recycling. At number 2, no paper towels or air dryers to dry your hands in public restrooms. I remember having to dry off my hands and my clothes because I used a public restroom in Japan for the first time, and I realized very quickly there was no paper towels nor an air dryer to dry off your hands. It's very common for people to carry a handkerchief to wipe off their hands or sweat from a hot day. And the handkerchiefs are sold everywhere. You can find them in different colors, prints, sizes. It's quite common. At number 3, restaurants in Japan have a smaller menu compared to the US. Many restaurants here have an extensive menu where they serve breakfast, lunch, dinner, appetizers, and desserts. And I feel like these places have their signature dishes, but they also have filler items that are very so-so because the menu is so large. From my personal experience, I've never had a bad meal in Japan. The menus there are very limited, but they specialize in those dishes and ingredients. My tip on deciding where to eat in Japan is to avoid places with loud music outside and places that have someone outside advertising their menu. They are likely to be tourist trapped and the food is probably mediocre with a higher price tag. Instead, look for restaurants that have people lining up because you have a higher chance that the food is going to be really good. At number 4, restaurants in Japan are smaller and have limited seating area. I would research and check out any restaurants that accept reservation. If you plan on dining with a large group, I would say 5 or more to ensure they can accommodate you. But if you wish to eat at a smaller restaurant, I would understand that you might not be seated together, or if you wish to be seated together, just expect a longer wait time. At number 5, buying tickets in advance for popular attraction. Don't just go hoping that you can buy tickets at the gate when you get there. I'm the kind of person that usually purchase tickets way in advance. My fiance and I decided to go to the Ghibli Museum last minute. It took us about 45 minutes just to get there, and when we got to the gate, we were told that the tickets were sold out and people book way in advance for them. We still made the most of it, but still lesson learned. If you're planning to do a big attraction, just book your tickets in advance. At number 6, coin lockers available to use at central train stations to store your belongings like luggage or shopping bags. They are really easy to use and the price varies depending on what size you get. It can range from 500 yen, which is $3.80 in USD, or 1,000 yen, which is almost $7.50. And what is nice is you can also use your IC card like Pasmo and Suica to pay for it. When you're using this locker, make sure you have everything you need for the day before you close it up, because the cost is only suitable for one use. You will have to pay again to reopen it and lock it again. The coin lockers are super helpful, especially if you're staying at multiple accommodations and you know you have that check-in and check-out window. You don't want to waste that time just waiting around, so you can always store your stuff in these lockers and then do other activities. I would definitely recommend putting a pin on your map on where your lockers are, just because there's a lot of them and they all look the same. At number 7, more casual restaurants like ramen shops may require you to select and pay for your meal in advance before being seated. For those types of restaurants, you will usually see a machine out front where you can select your meal and pay for it once it's paid for. before, you will get a meal ticket, and then that meal ticket you can present it to the server. In order to use the machine, you must put the money in first before making your selection. At number 8, if you're dining somewhere where you pay for the meal afterwards, make sure you go to the register to pay because it's not common to pay for your bill at the table. At number 9 is how to call your waiter or waitress to the table so you can order. When seated and ready to order, you can raise your hand and say sumimasen or push a button on the table if it's available. My fiance and I went to go eat in Japan for the first time. We were seated, and when we decided what we wanted to order, we closed our menu. Like how we do in the US, we made eye contact with the staff. No one was coming over. I didn't want to do anything that was considered rude, so I googled it and that was the first thing that came up. At number 10, you'll often find yourself always waiting in lines in Japan, whether it's waiting on a platform for your train, at a bus stop, waiting to be seated at a restaurant, or doing some sort of activity. Usually lines give me so much anxiety because here I've experienced people cutting in lines, I've seen people forming different lines, and then the line itself takes longer than it should be because people don't know how to line up. But in Japan, they have mastered the art of just queuing in line. It is so neat, organized, and efficient that I personally don't mind staying in line. This is helpful to know because when you're dining out, just expect to stay in line for about 40 minutes to maybe an hour sometimes. My fiance and I, we try to dine during off hours. If we know we're going to stay in line for at least an hour, we go to a convenience store, grab a snack to hold us over. At number 11, mask wearing. For those of us that are planning to go to Japan in April or late March, there will be an update. The Japanese government is going to ease mask wearing on March 13th of this year, when you're recommended to wear a mask on public transportation during rush hours or anytime the train is crowded. But in Japan, people have grown very accustomed to wearing a mask, so please bring a mask and wear one if you're in a crowded area. At number 12, no talking on the phone or being loud on the trains. I remember my first time riding the public transportation, even when the train was packed, you didn't hear any phone's notifications going off or any loud music. It was super quiet. At number 13, no tipping in Japan. Unlike the US, where tipping is customary in many services, especially at sit-down restaurants, Japan does not have a tipping culture, and leaving a tip or change behind could be considered an insult. And number 14, slurping your ramen or your soup shows how much you're enjoying your meal, so slurp away. At number 15, don't blow your nose or burp in public. It is considered rude, and if you have to, kind of separate yourself from the crowd. At number 16, expect a lot of crowds. The sheer volume of people and things to do in Japan can be overwhelming. And for those of you that are going to Japan for the first time, you're gonna wanna pack your schedule to see as much as you can. I definitely recommend designating a day to chill out at a park, at a cafe, or a garden. You want a moment for yourself to reset and just take everything in, because when you're scheduling yourself back to back to back to back with activities, it can be exhausting. Another tip would be when you're planning out your day to schedule it around non-commuting hours, which are from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. or in the evening between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. At number 17, some of you guys already know this, but Japan is very, very safe. So safe that it's ranked the safest country in the world. Not to say that there's no crime like any other country, they do, but just lower compared to others. I feel like I can get lost in the city or venture off exploring and not have to look over my shoulder or constantly see if my personal belongings are with me. And that goes to number 18. People in Japan leave their personal belongings on tables to reserve them. I've seen people leave their jackets, their bags, just on tables while they go get their food, and there'd be nobody else at the table. That's mind-boggling to me because here I never feel safe leaving myself. People get their stuff stolen. At number 19, keeping your shoes on in certain places like fitting rooms, certain restaurants, temples, or someone's home is considered offensive. Cleanliness and hygiene are frequently practiced in Japan, so I suggest packing shoes that are easy to slip on and off. And if you're wearing shoes without socks one day, I would always suggest bringing a fresh pair of socks in your bag, so if you're going to those places and you're taking off your shoes, you can slip on those socks. At number 20, eating in public. For example, if you're standing or walking and waiting for the train and you're having a full-blown meal, it's just frowned upon. It is acceptable to snack or have a meal in places like the Shinkansen where you reserve a seat, or getting a refreshment by the vending machine, or public areas where food is served, like a festival where they have multiple food stalls that you can try. So we finally reached our 20 tips, but I want to give you an extra one. People have been telling me from their recent trip this year to Japan is to always have a backup plan. So when you're mapping out where you're going to go, or activities, places to eat, and you have a certain time and date designated for that particular activity, definitely recommend having a plan B, C, and D. If you're relying on what is reflected on Google, that might be wrong. Just have other things planned out so that you're not disappointed if that place is closed for that day. So that's all from me on tips you might want to know before you go. And if you have gone to Japan, please comment down below on some of the experiences that you ran into. I might do 1 or 2 more videos, maybe one that will focus on maybe my 5 top things to do in Kyoto, Tokyo, and then maybe a packing video closest to the date where we're leaving. I think we're coming to an end of this preparing for Japan series, but I will be filming in Japan, so don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this, or follow me on Instagram where you get daily updates. So until next time, I hope you guys have the best day of your life, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!